And how I know, my GDs was up there. They got on him, questioned him about it, and bro, that ain't got nothing. I ain't on that. Ooh, that was just music.
But he was dissing though.
To get it back in blood or whatever.
Yeah, he was dissing all in that song. So how you gonna say it ain't that? It was that. He was.
Ain't that the song my POS me how I get out tell him how it's duck?
Yeah, that was disrespectful. I didn't like it.
Pushy really thought his fame and street credit would protect him in federal prison, but he would later find out that it only made him a bigger target. After getting the brakes beat off him by the gangster disciples for disrespecting them on a Lil Durk track, he stayed quiet. But now, after coming home and a couple months going by, he would finally respond in a leaked song that's got the whole hip-hop community talking. The shocking truth behind what went down in USP Victorville is darker than anyone imagined, and we're about to reveal what's good, fam? We about to dive deep into some real federal prison politics that's been shaking up the hip-hop community. This ain't just street drama. This is about what happens when Chicago gang politics follow you behind them walls, and how one feature on the wrong song can turn your bid into a nightmare. Now, before we get into this wild ride, let me keep it 100 with y'all. For months, rumors been circulating that Pooh Shiesty got pressed by GDs and the feds. People thought it was cap, internet gossip. You know how it goes, but yo, we about to separate the facts from the fiction, the real from the fake, because this story is way more complex than what you've been seeing on social media. 2020 to 2021. That's the time frame that changed everything for Pooh Shiesty. This young Memphis rapper was on top of the world. Back in Blood was everywhere. He had the streets and the charts on lock, and he was getting features with some of the biggest names in the game. But one particular feature would come back to haunt him in the worst way possible when he caught his federal case. Now, hold up, before y'all start thinking this is just another rapper goes to jail story. This situation involves Chicago gang politics, federal prison yards, and the memory of a fallen rapper that the GDs hold sacred. But here's where it gets real spicy. Pooh Shie wasn't even directly dissing anybody. But in the streets and in prison, association is everything. So check it, Lil Durk dropped a track called Should've Ducked, and he got Pooh Shiesty on it as a feature. Now, for those who don't know the backstory, this song was a direct diss to FBG Duck, a GD rapper from Chicago who was tragically killed by O-Block members in 2020. Chicago rapper who was gunned down here on one of Chicago's ritziest street. They say two other people were also shot, one for gunman. Witnesses say jumped out of cars and fired from just a few feet away. The whole situation was messy. Duck got shot in broad daylight in the Gold Coast area of Chicago, one of the most upscale neighborhoods in the city. It was a hit that shook the entire Chicago drill scene. On Should've Ducked, Durk was going crazy with the disrespect. He was mocking Duck's death, talking reckless about the whole situation and basically celebrating what happened to him. The title itself was a play on Duck's name and the fact that he got caught slipping. That's some cold-blooded type energy right there. Let that sink in for a minute. Now, Pooh Shie's verse on the track. He wasn't directly dissing Duck, he was just doing his regular Pooh Shiesty flow, talking about his street activities and all that. But here's the thing. In the streets, and especially in prison, it don't matter if you didn't say the words yourself. If you're on that track, you co-signing everything that's being said. You're guilty by association. No cap. For y'all who might not understand how deep FBG Duck meant to the GDs, let me explain. Duck was the only GD rapper to really make it out of Chicago and get mainstream recognition. In a city where the BD's black disciples dominated the drill scene with Chief Keef, Lil Durk, King Va, and all them, Duck was holding it down for the GD side. Hope to every GD in Chicago that they could make it to. He was their voice, their representation in the rap game. So when he got killed, and then Durk made a whole disc song about it, the GDs took that personal. Real personal. King Yola, from Chicago, who was locked up in the same federal prison as Pooh Shiesty, explained it perfectly in his interview. He said that FBG Duck was the pride of the gangster disciples, the only one who really made it and put his people on the map. When Duck got killed in August 2020, the GDs took that loss hard, real hard. So when Should've Ducked came out with Pooh Shiesty on it, they felt like he was taking part in the disrespect even though his verse wasn't directly about Duck. But here's where it gets deeper. Pooh Shie is from Memphis, not Chicago. He probably didn't even fully understand the depth of Chicago politics when he hopped on that track. He might have just seen it as a hot feature with Lil Durk, a chance to get on a song with one of the biggest rappers in the game. Like King Yella said in his interview, fame a hell of a drug. Pooh Shie, a young dude that just came up. Durk on the rise, man, who wouldn't want a Durk feature? All these folks would want to do it, but that's real talk right there. When you're a young artist coming up and Lil Durk offers you a feature, you're not thinking about the long-term consequences. You're thinking about streams, about going viral, about getting that cosign from a bigger artist. But in the streets and in prison, those songs follow you. They become reasons for people to test you, to hurt you, to make an example out of you. Fast forward to 2022, Pooh Shiesty catches his federal case for that shooting situation in Florida and gets sentenced to 5 years, and it lands a rapper in jail. 7. Sheldon Fox with the exclusive says, "You're wanted with Mr. Williams. You were arrested for pursuant to an arrest. They sent him to USP Victorville in California." And this is where the story gets crazy. USP stands for United States Penitentiary. And for those who don't know, that's not no camp or low security spot. That's a real federal prison with real convicts doing real time. Now, the feds know exactly what they're doing when they place people. They got all your information. They know what gang you affiliated with, what songs you made, who you got beef with, all of it. And they sent Pooh Shiesty, who's on a FBG duck diss track, to a yard with G. That ain't no coincidence, fam. The feds beyond that timing, for real. King Yell explained that the feds do this on purpose. They send you far from home so your people can't visit you easy, so you're isolated, so you're vulnerable. Pooh Shiesty is from Memphis, Tennessee. His case was in Florida. So why did they send him all the way to California? King Yella said, "They know what they're doing. They know who you is. They know everything about you. They might send you to a prison on the other side of the world, knowing nobody going to come visit you." According to King Yella, who was locked up in the same unit, Unit 6B, at USP Victorville, the GDs up there were ready to get on Pushy soon as they found out he was coming. King Yella said his phone was ringing off the hook with GDs from the feds asking him what they should do about Pooh Shiesty being up there. But here's where it gets interesting. King Yella, being the older, more level-headed dude, told them to leave Pooh Shiesty alone. He said, "Man, folks, let that man live. Leave him alone. Man, he ain't on nothing. He up there. You know what I'm saying? He ain't on no gangster type stuff. Man." King Yella understood that Pooh Shiesty probably didn't even fully understand the politics behind the song. He was just a young Memphis rapper, excited to get a Lil Durk feature. Fame is a heel off a drug. And when you're coming up in the game, you're not thinking about how a song might affect you if you end up in federal prison with GDs from Chicago. But yo, not everybody was as understanding as King Yella. According to the information that came out, the GDs did eventually confront Pooh Shiesty about the song. King Yella was the first person to break the news publicly when he did an interview with DJ Vlad, and at first, people thought he was capping. His homeboy, Big 30, even came into Theamints trying to say it wasn't true. But King Yella had receipts. He showed his mail from USP Victorville, proving he was in the same unit as Pooh Shiesty. The real tea that got everybody shook was when King Yella said, "All my GD homies calling me from the feds. Folks, what's up? What y'all want us to do? What y'all want us to do with Pooh Shiesty?" That's when you know, these dudes were really ready to put hands on a celebrity rapper over a song. King Yella went on to say, "He up there. He ain't on nothing. He ain't on no gangster stuff. Man, I ain't the type of dude." Okay, he did the song, should have duck, diss, and duck. Pushy obviously don't know no better. Folks, just be like I say, fame a hell of a drug. Now, in the hood and in prison, we know how this goes. When you get pressed, that means you getting confronted, tested, and if you don't handle it right, you getting beat up. The GDs felt disrespected by that should have ducked song, and Pooh Shiesty being on it made him a target. Even though King Yella tried to calm the situation down, word is that Pooh Shiesty still had problems with the GDs during his time there. The real kicker though, Pooh Shiesty never publicly denied the rumors. When King Yella put it out there, Pooh Shiesty could have easily said something, made a statement, or addressed it, but he stayed quiet. That silence spoke volumes. Bam. In the streets, if something ain't true, you deny it immediately. The fact that Pooh Shiesty didn't say nothing told us everything we needed to know. King Yella showed a level of maturity and wisdom in this situation that a lot of people didn't expect. He could have told his people to get on Pooh Shiesty, could have co-signed the violence, but instead he said, "Leave that man alone. He don't know no better. He don't know no better." That's the kind of energy we need more of in this culture. People who are willing to squash beef instead of escalate it. People who understand that revenge and violence only lead to more pain and more loss. But not everybody thinks like King Yella. Not everybody is willing to let things go. And that's why situations like what happened to Pooh Shiesty and USP Victorville keep happening. That's why we keep losing young artists to the streets and the system. King Yella also talked about how Pooh Shiesty was in the same exact unit he just came home from. He said Pooh Shiesty on the same yard, the same exact unit I've just paroled home from. He and USP Victorville, Unit 6B. He up there right now. That's how King Yella knew exactly what was going on. He had just left that same spot and knew all the players involved. Now, let's talk about what everybody's been waiting for. Pooh Shiesty's response. After coming home from his bid, a leaked song surfaced where Pooh Shiesty finally addressed what happened in the track. He mentions his first day on the jail truck and clashing with the GDs. Now, he didn't come out and say, "Yeah, the GDs beat me up." But let's decode what he's saying. When he talks about his first day and mentions the GADs, that's him acknowledging that he had problems from day one. In prison language, when you clash with somebody, that's a nice way of saying you got into it. and usually that means hands were thrown. The fact that Pooh Shiesty is even mentioning it in a song shows that it affected him. Rappers don't usually talk about their prison experiences unless it's something significant. And for him to specifically mention the GDS, that's confirmation that everything King Eula said was true. But here's what's interesting. Pooh Shie is framing it in a way that doesn't make him look completely weak. He's acknowledging the situation happened, but he's not saying he got completely dominated. That's important for his image because in hip-hop, especially in street rap, perception is everything. The leaked song basically put all the rumors to rest. People can't say King Yellow was lying anymore. People can't say it never happened. Pooh Shiesty himself confirmed it in his own music, and that takes a certain level of courage to be honest about what you went through instead of just denying it and hoping people forget. The real question is, what does this situation teach us about the consequences of drill music and gang politics in hip-hop? Pooh Shiesty is from Memphis. He's not from Chicago. He's not a GD or a BD. He has no personal connection to the FBG Duck situation. But because he wanted that Lil Durk feature, because he wanted to be associated with one of the biggest names in drill music, he ended up becoming a target for GDs in federal prison. This is the dark side of the music industry that people don't talk about enough. When you're a young artist coming up, you're not thinking about the long-term consequences of the songs you make. You're thinking about streams, about going viral, about getting that cosign from a bigger artist. But in the streets and in prison, those songs follow you. They become evidence. They become reasons for people to test you, to hurt you, to make an example out of you. For y'all who haven't been keeping up with Chicago drill politics, understand that this beef between GDs and BDs has been going on for decades. It's deep, it's generational, and it's deadly. FBG Duck's death wasn't just another casualty. It was a major loss for the GD community, and they're still mourning him. So when Lil Durk made Should Have Ducked, and when Pooh Shiesty appeared on it, they saw that as disrespect to Duck's memory. Pushy learned that the hard way. He thought his fame and street credit would protect him. But in the feds, none of that matters. You're just another inmate. And if you're on the wrong song, you become a target. Now, this ain't just about Pooh Shiesty's situation. This is about the culture of drill music and where it's taken us. We've seen so many young rappers lose their lives or their freedom because of the music they make and the beefs they involve themselves in. King Von, FBG, Duck, Lil Durks, ongoing legal issues, Young Thugs, Rico case. The list goes on and on. The street's been talking about this for years, but nobody wants to listen. We keep glorifying the violence, keep making songs about killing ops and dissing the dead, and then we act surprised when the consequences come. We act shocked when these young artists end up dead or in prison. When really we should have seen it coming from a mile away. The lesson here is clear. Be careful what songs you get on. Be careful what beefs you involve yourself in, and understand that your actions have consequences that can follow you anywhere, even behind federal prison walls. Pushy probably thought he was just getting a hot feature with Lil Durk. He probably didn't think about what would happen if he ended up in prison with GDs from Chicago. But that's the reality of this game. Every decision you make can come back to haunt you. But at the same time, Pooh Shiesty had to face some consequences. The GDs still pressed him, still let him know that they weren't cool with him being on that song. And now that he's addressed it in his music, we'll see how the streets respond, how the GDs respond, and whether this situation is really over or just getting started. The real question, though, is what happens when Pooh Shiesty fully comes home. He's still got some time left on his sentence, but when he gets out, is he going to learn from this experience? Is he going to be more careful about the music he makes and the people he associates with? Or is he going to go right back to the same energy that got him in trouble in the first place? Pooh Shiesty is still doing millions of likes on Instagram from behind bars. His fans still love him. His music is still hot, and when he comes home, he's probably going to pick up right where he left off. But this experience in Victorville is something he's never going to forget. It's a reminder that fame and money can't protect you from everything, and that sometimes the consequences of your actions catch up to you in ways you never expected. One thing's for sure, Pooh Shiesty is still young, still talented, and still has a whole career ahead of him. This situation could have been way worse. He could have been seriously hurt or worse. But he made it through, and now he's got a story to tell. A lot of rappers in similar situations don't make it out to tell their story. They end up as another name on a memorial t-shirt, another hashtag on Twitter, another cautionary tale that nobody learns from. At the end of the day, Pooh Shiesty's situation isn't just about a rapper getting pressed in prison. It's about power, loyalty, consequences, and the dangerous game that drill music has become. It's about how the lines between entertainment and real life have gotten so blurred that young artists don't even realize when they're putting themselves in danger. The fact that Pooh Shiesty responded in a leaked song shows that he's not running from what happened. He's owning it in his own way, letting people know that, yeah, he had issues with the GDs in there, but he's still standing. He's still here. He's still Pooh Shiesty. That takes courage, especially when you know the whole world is watching and judging. Real talk, this whole situation could have been avoided if Pooh Shiesty had understood the depth of what Should Have Ducked represented. But that's the problem with the music industry right now. Young artists are getting thrown into situations they don't fully understand, and by the time they realize what they got themselves into, it's too late. King Yella's role in this whole situation can't be overlooked. He tried to protect Pooh Shiesty, tried to get his people to leave him alone, and showed a level of maturity that's rare in this culture. But even with King Yella's intervention, Pooh Shiesty still had to face some consequences. That's just the reality of prison politics and gang culture. Sometimes, no matter who's trying to help you, you've still got to deal with the situation. The streets Arielway is watching, and they never forget. Pooh Shiesty learned that lesson the hard way, but at least he's still here to learn from it, to grow from it, and to hopefully make better decisions moving forward. What are your thoughts on Pooh Shiesty's situation and his response to getting pressed by the G? Do you think he should have never gotten on that song? Or was it just bad luck that he ended up in the same prison as Chicago G? Do you think King Yola did the right thing by trying to protect him? Share your thoughts in the comments, and make sure you subscribe for more deep dives into hip-hop's most controversial stories. This is the type of content that separates the real from the fake, and we're here to give you nothing but facts, fam. Stay safe out there, and remember, every decision you make in this rap game has consequences. Pooh Shiesty learned that the hard way, but hopefully his story can be a lesson for other young artists coming up. Think before you hop on that feature. Understand the politics behind the music, and always remember that your actions can follow you anywhere, even behind federal prison walls. Peace, fam. Behind federal prison walls. Peace, fam.